Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for another beautiful day here in Goochland County. We are truly grateful for the freedom and liberties we experience every day. Bless our time here together tonight. Help us to show respect to all citizens and appointed members of this Planning Commission. Let our conversations and decisions tonight be blessed by you. It is in your name we pray. Amen.
Again, thank you for joining us again this evening for the continuation of the September 18th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting. For those citizens, as we get ready to get into our comment period, for those of you who are yielding your speaking time to someone else, you must come up to the podium with that person that you're yielding your time to, state your name and your address for the record, and then you may return to your seat. We also ask that we have a level of decorum, as we are asking for each and every one of you to have that level of decorum without clapping, jeering, sneering, booing, or hissing. We ask that you, if you have a sign or signage, that you would just have that towards the back so everybody can see what's going on in front of them. We also ask that when you come to the microphone, we only have one microphone tonight. When you come to the microphone, that you address us as the commission and not the audience. We also ask that those who wish to speak, I already see the individuals who are in the reserved seats. We'll start with this gentleman here in a few moments, and then we'll just work our way down that way, and I guess we'll come back over to this side as well. And then anyone else who wants to speak, come down to the front row. After those individuals have spoken, they can get up and move or do whatever they need to do from that point. We also ask that you just keep in mind on that screen in front of you, there's a time clock. You have 3 minutes to speak unless you have given your time up to someone else. There will be a timer that will go off. You will hear that noise. And then that would be your time to end your conversation with us. So with that being said, Madam Clerk, would you let us tell us what is going on, please?
Yes, sir. At this time, we would like to reopen the public hearing for countywide CP 2025-2 and ZOA 2025-1, amendment to the comprehensive plan related to the establishment of a technology overlay district, and an amendment to the zoning ordinance, County Code, Chapter 15, adding sections 15448 through 15550, establishing a technology overlay district, amending section 15331, off-street parking and loading/unloading requirements to decrease parking standards for data centers, and amending section 15500 definitions to include small modular nuclear reactor facility, natural gas peaking plant, and utility generation station.
Thank you. Will the first speaker please come from the front row again to the microphone, and as he finishes, then we'll just go down in succession, down all the way down the row, and then when we finish with the gentleman here with the Red Sox shirt on, then we will get these two individuals here. And then after you speak, if you don't mind just going to another seat, so if anybody else wishes to speak, they can come and just sit in this front row. Yes, sir, go ahead.
My name's Tom Hoffman, and I live at 633 Longfield Road, and I'm here to address the commission on two issues that I've not heard addressed previous meetings. One is the fire hazard. It's been reported that Chesterfield's data warehouse has had 4 fires in 5 months at the same location. And my question to the commission is, are we ready to field those kinds of issues before we start building them and approving them? Should we have the fire department go to the data warehouse instead of somebody's home who's burning? That's a decision that we're going to be facing, and we should face it before we make a vote on it. The second issue, and as important, I think we're all aware that water is a tremendous commodity in the world today. And with a growing population, the water is going to become scarcer and scarcer. We also know that water is consumed dramatically by these data warehouses. And the answer that has been put out there is that, well, Goochland has a contract with Henrico, and we're only using a very small part of what's allocated to us. And that may be true today, but Henrico and Chesterfield are building a lot of data warehouses. And I think charity still begins at home, and it's my understanding that there's a clause in our agreement with Henrico that gives them the right to give us a 5-year notice to cut off our water supply. So if the consumption of water in Henrico and the other areas becomes massive, who's going to lose? If there's a 5-year clause, are we prepared to spend that kind of money to generate another source of water for Goochland? So those are the two issues. I thank you for your time. Good night.
Thank you, sir. Next, please.
My name is Anne Marie Frank, and I live at 12162 Readers Point Drive in Mannequin, and I want to cede my time to Mr. Lawrence Frank.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Lawrence Frank, and I reside at 12162 Readers Point Drive in Mannequin, Sabot, and have been a proud Goochland resident since 2002. During that time, I've watched our county grow thoughtfully while maintaining the unique character that makes it such a special place to live. I want to speak tonight in strong opposition to the proposed technology overlay district, and I want to highlight how this proposal has evolved in ways that concern not just me, but countless residents across our community. Originally, when the county introduced the TOD concept, its focus was on data centers, which sparked widespread citizen outcry, and rightly so. But instead of pausing and listening to these concerns, the proposal has now been amended to include small nuclear reactors and gas peaking generators as by right uses. Frankly, this feels like an effort to distract us from the real issues. These are even more noxious facilities than data centers, and their inclusion does nothing to address the worries of residents. It makes the situation worse. Small nuclear reactors and gas peaking plants do not belong anywhere near neighborhoods, schools, and senior living facilities. West Creek and its surrounding areas are no longer just a business park. These are industrial facilities that are totally inappropriate for an area that is half residential, with thousands of families now calling this part of Goochland home. To even propose putting nuclear facilities and gas plants here is out of step with the community's vision and out of step with common sense. We should also be clear about what's really happening here. The county wants data centers and wants to be able to offer them incentives. We, as residents, do not want this. The existing by right restrictions, such as the limits on height and parking requirements, in combination with the high cost of utility connections, are not perfect, but are practical barriers that have successfully kept large-scale data centers out. These safeguards should not be watered down. Incentives should not be authorized. In fact, the opposite should happen. The by right allowance for data centers should be removed altogether. If a company wants to bring one here, they should have to make their case in public under the scrutiny of a conditional use permit process. That's the only way residents can be heard and impacts can be measured. Other counties across Virginia have learned the hard way that once you open the door to data centers and energy plants, it is nearly impossible to control their growth. Communities suffer from noise pollution, power and water strain, reduced property values, and a loss of the very character that makes places like Goochland attractive. We should learn from their mistakes, not repeat them. Finally, the strategic plan for Goochland County is clear. Our goal is to protect the county's unique identity and avoid overdevelopment seen in Henrico and Chesterfield. This technology overlay district, as currently proposed, does the opposite. I urge this commission to take a different path, reject this proposal, maintain current restrictions, and seriously consider removing data centers from by right zoning. Goochland deserves thoughtful, balanced growth, not environmental disasters disguised as technology. Thank you for your time, your service, and careful consideration of the residents who call this wonderful county home. Have a good evening.
Thank you, sir. Again, we ask that you not clap. I know your emotions want you to do so, but we want to move forward and fast and efficiently as we can with allowing everyone the opportunity to speak. So let's be mindful of that, please. Hopefully this will be the last time I have to say that. Yes, sir. Please, your name and address.
Hi, Dennis Monahan, 10,009 Potter's Wheel Way in Mosaic. I guess most of what I was going to say to the gentleman before me very adequately covered it. But in general, the concern is, are we really taking enough time to look at what we're about to get ourselves into? And the impact on, like the gentleman said, utilities and other things. Other states, Oregon, Indiana, Georgia, their regulators have put in mandates requiring not only data centers, but any large users that come into the town to absorb 80 to 100% of the infrastructure costs that Dominion or the water companies may have, and also set a separate high usage rate for all the utilities to prevent Dominion coming back 5 years from now after 6 or 7 are built and raising our rates. My question is Virginia the county, or is Virginia, do they have those parameters in place? Secondly, regarding generators, these new forms of data centers are not our grandfather's data centers. We were told at one of our other meetings that generator maintenance has been restricted to 2 hours during the workday to reduce the impact on us as we sleep at night. However, in my experience, I managed commercial real estate for 35 years, including data centers, is all companies I worked for would never allow you to do generator maintenance during the day, because that would require simulating a power failure to see if everything works. So every time I had to do generator maintenance, it was midnight to 6 a.m. on a Saturday. So do we really know what we're asking for by saying they can do it during the day? Third, are we talking to other counties? Like recently, Henrico shot one down in Verina, Prince William County, Pittsylvania County. Are we talking to other counties to say, why did you turn it down? And someone at the last meeting brought up an even better point. Are we talking to other counties that did it and now regret it? And finally, regarding the buy right, we saw a nice rendition of the Eli Lilly plant, which is great news, it's coming, and it looks very nice. But then in a meeting I went to a couple of nights ago, they said, well, that's really, It may not look that way. That's just a general rendition. There's no template. We really need to look at every building that comes in here on a one-up basis and see if it's going to, what the impact is going to be on the community. And that's it, and thank you very much for your service. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The gentleman in the black shirt with the glasses, sir? Yes, right here in the front row. You, yes, sir. Oh, they just sat down. I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead. Yes. Yes, ma'am. Your name and address, please.
Am I standing too close?
Yeah, you're fine. Go ahead.
Am I okay? Good evening, committee. My name is Terry Medley. I have lived in Goochland County for 22 years. And though I'm in the western part of Goochland, I'm very concerned about this data center. So a couple things I want to point out. And I don't know if you've been made aware that data centers emit a low decimal frequency. And according to a couple data scientists, they have said that with low decibel frequencies, you cannot block the sound. High decimal you can. Low decimal goes through landscaping, every type of solid material. Now, I don't know how far the humming goes, but I do know that in Northern Virginia, where data centers have already been established, that people are outraged and upset by not just the noise pollution, CO2 levels. Data centers produce the highest CO2 levels in the world. And then we have the water. One data center consumes 100,000 gallons of water a day. Let that sink in. 100,000. 60 data centers, like in Phoenix, 170 million gallons a day. And the West, Phoenix, Utah, California, they already have a water shortage. And I agree with previous speakers that once you have allowed the genie out of the bottle, it will be nearly impossible to retract it. And I think it's very important that we talk to other counties, that we do research of what's been happening in Northern Virginia, where people are really upset about what's happened, because now they're getting something that they weren't counting on. I think that the environmental impacts, the noise, the water, should be enough for us to pause and really rethink what we are doing here, because indeed, Goochland is one of the most beautiful counties in Central Virginia, and I would hate to see that change. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. Next, please.
I'm Martha Brock. I live at 12219 Brimner Ridge Circle in Mannequin-Sabot, and I cede my time to Bill Brock.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Your
My
name
is
and, I'm
Bill
sorry, your
Brock.
name and address, please.
My name is Bill Brock. I live at 12219 Bremner Ridge Circle. It's in Mannequin-Sabot. It's the Readers Branch development. I have 3 comments I want to offer. They're slightly different comments than
Can
you've
you
heard.
talk into the microphone a little bit more, please?
I got some feedback. Is that better?
That's great.
Yep,
Okay,
good, thank you.
I have 3 comments I want to offer. They're slightly different comments from what you've heard so far. My first comment pertains to the Planning Commission action last week to provide, as I understand, conditional approval of an application required from a resident of Goochland County who owns 4 acres, over 4 acres. The request is to build another residence on his property. Also, if I understand correctly, the commission approved the request as long as a family member resides in the new residence. That struck me as a little odd. At the meeting last week, you did ask for public comments on the residence application. Now, my question to you, what's wrong with this picture? You're now considering a county staff proposed TOD that allows any building construction on any parcel of land in the TOD to proceed with no application, a blanket approval as long as it meets the building requirements in the TOD. Very simply, what you require of a Goochland County resident to build on his property should also be required for any organization wishing to build in the TOD. That is, require an application and provide for public engagement in the review of the application. Now, my second comment pertains to the responsibility you have to Goochland County residents. The Planning Commission approved multiple residential developments in the area of the proposed TOD. It doesn't matter whether you're on the commission or not when these residential developments were approved in an industrial zone. You who are on the commission now have the fundamental responsibility to protect Goochland County residents. The residential developments approved by this commission brought my wife and me and many, many other residents to Goochland County. Now, considering the responsibility you have to the residents of Goochland County, the commission should require that any future developments in eastern Goochland County include an application review and approval process that includes public engagement. You need to protect eastern Goochland County from becoming an undesirable place to live. Now, third comment concerns the county's apparent desire to attract small modular reactors. I'm not surprised that Goochland County is jumping on the bandwagon of SMRs. There's wide national interest in SMRs, and I personally agree with that interest. However, I note the county proposes to locate SMRs, surprisingly, along the north side of Interstate 64, a heavily traveled major transportation route. I do not know if the county staff or their contractors have any experience or knowledge of siting requirements for nuclear reactors. For your reference, the siting requirements are in Title 10 of the U.S. Code of Federal Regulations, Part 100. The U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission has the responsibility for the review and approval of proposed nuclear sites. I will add there's a robust opportunity for broad public involvement in the NRC review, public hearings, and licensing process. The NRC regulatory guidance identifies the need for good local transport to the site of a future SMR. However, I do not believe this regulatory guidance recommends a site to be adjacent to a heavily traveled major east-west interstate highway. To identify specific areas for possible SMRs, the county should first study and evaluate the siting factors required by NRC regulations and make that study and the results publicly available as part of their proposal. I think the failure to do so is a very major oversight by the county. And just for the record, I retired from the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission after 42 years. Thank you. I appreciate your consideration of the comments.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Steve Dowdy. I live at 639 Monacan Drive in Monacan Sabot. I'd like to thank the commissioners for the opportunity to speak tonight. I live between the fifth hole on Richmond Country Club and the proposed TOD. I could stand on my deck and throw a football into the TOD, and I'm no quarterback. I want to specifically address the 900 acres to the west and north of my home that's included in the TOD. A brief history of that property. The 900 acres is composed of 6 parcels that are controlled by 3 individuals. These individuals recently opposed the rezoning of 3 lots in Mosaic that would prevent the access of their property from Mosaic Creek Boulevard. And you, of course, heard that case. The rezoning was approved by the Board of Supervisors. Those individuals are now suing the county regarding that decision. Though actively trying, the individuals have been unable to develop a plan to develop their land to date. It seems the county may now be bailing out those people. The land is currently zoned A2 and will become M1 as part of the TOD approval. This action seems to be showing favoritism to these 3 individuals as opposed to the many surrounding residents of these 6 parcels. I've been involved in several rezoning cases since moving to Goochland 20 years ago. All have concerned limiting B1 and business zoning west of 288 on Patterson and Route 6. Route 6 is a recognized gateway into Goochland County and should be maintained as its maintain its rural character, unlike what's happened in Centerville on Broad Street Road. Today, it's all residential and a few new professional buildings in that area. In these zoning meetings, I've often heard the term phased development from the Planning Commission, from the Board of Supervisors, where large lot residential homes that exist now would transition into smaller lot homes and possibly into townhouses and apartments, and ultimately into light industrial or commercial use that exists now in West Creek. What is being proposed in the TOD is anything but phased development. Has this zoning principle been abandoned by the county? As an alternative, I ask that you recommend the removal of the 900 acres from the TOD. Allow those landowners to develop their property through traditional zoning and conditional use permits, and allow local residents to be involved in that process, as is their right.
Thank you, sir. Next, please.
Good evening. My name is James Dudley. I reside at 421 Regina Lane. That's in Creekmore Park. I'm here tonight to speak against the inclusion of the 900 acres into the TOD. I read the 2024 JLARC report, the Joint Legislative Audit and Review Committee report on data centers published in 2024. And there are so many points that are covered in the report that scream not to have this zone become part of a TOD. You've got folks that have invested their life savings, been drawn to Goochland County, bought the homes, had an expectation of quiet enjoyment of their properties, and now they're in fear that their life dreams, their end of life, are going to be destroyed for gain of big business. And I don't think that's right. Just looking at it on the surface, it violates all the rules of traditional zoning. There's no gradient left. You're going to have residences that back up to M1, and the fact that you're trying to include the by right statute is wholly un-American. You're eliminating everybody's ability to input or comment any kind of decisions that would be made in that area of property. And it's just, we start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. As you reflect on your decision on the development of this area, think about what is in the Pledge of Allegiance. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You are treading on people's happiness at their expense for big business, and that's wholly wrong. So I plead with you to give it careful consideration. Thank you for the ability to speak to you tonight.
Thank you. Next, please. Again, let's refrain from clapping.
Good evening. My name is Robin Daughtry, and I reside at 12385 South Reader Circle in Mannequin-Sabot. The proposed TOD design standards need amending to protect residential development in the Hockett Road, Broad Street corridor from the noise, visual blight, and pollution of data centers. I am not opposed to all technology development, but I am opposed to data and distribution centers being built contiguous to residential neighborhoods. Currently, these and other high-tech businesses can be built by right on land zoned M1, running behind Readers Branch neighborhood and extending generally south along Hockett Road to Tuckahoe Creek Parkway. M1 zoning prevents the public's ability to review or voice concerns about any development, and no statutory provision exists for the Planning Commission or the Board of Supervisors to review and approve them. A project merely requires site plan and permit approval by county staff. I therefore request an amendment to zoning ordinance section 15-262 to change by right development of data and distribution centers in the M1 zoning for property contiguous to neighborhoods to a conditional use permit, which would then require public notice and a public hearing. State Code 15.2-2286.A.7 allows this, and other localities have recently taken similar action. I also request the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors direct the county attorney to initiate this action. The county needs business revenue, and I support efforts to achieve that goal, but not at the expense of residents who also support the county with tax revenue. If you're not willing to amend by right legislation, I ask that you support the following changes to the proposed overlay district design standards. Reduce total noise levels from data centers and generators to 45 decibels daytime and 40 after 5 p.m. Install devices to eliminate low-frequency sound waves. Reduce maximum building height from 120 to 80 feet, and increase buffer widths to 1,000 feet. Certainly, you wouldn't want to be subjected to the negative impacts that will result from adopting the TOD's design standards as written. Please heed your residents' concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir?
Hello, thank you for letting me speak tonight. My name is Rob Reese. I live at 5921 Ketterly Row in Glen Allen. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak here. I have two areas of concern that I wanted to bring to the Commission's attention about the development of SMRs in this area. One is related to the threat profile that is raised for Goochland County by putting these type of centers in this area. I've spent almost 18 years of my life in law enforcement, some of which dealt with critical infrastructure protection and dealing and looking at and understanding people who are interested in attacking critical infrastructure, or from organizations to individuals. My request to you is, has the Commission considered the threat profile, the impact to the threat profile that will occur as a result of these types of facilities being in this area? And are we prepared to deal with that? The second question I have for you is related to waste and waste handling and recycling. That particularly, I wanted to ask you, how is it being recycled? A study published May 31st, 2022, in the Proceedings of National Academy of Sciences said, our results show that most small modular reactor designs will actually increase the volume of nuclear waste in need of management and disposal by factors of 2 to 30 for the reactors in our case study, said study lead author Lindsay Kroll, a former MacArthur postdoctoral fellow at Stanford University's Center for International Security and Cooperation. In addition, other companies who have recycled this type of waste, two in particular, Moltex and ARC, basically advertise reprocessing as a way to recycle the waste. The concern with that is because once the plutonium is separated from used nuclear fuel, it can be used much easier in the production of atomic weapons. Regardless of how much of a concern that really is to you, the fact that it elevates the threat profile for this area, for those of us who depend on you to keep us safe. We would ask that you seriously consider these things as you move forward in your decision-making process. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Sir in the black, and after you. Okay, I'm sorry. Sir, if you guys will wait for just a moment, and right here with the beard, please.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is John Byro, and I live at 12481 North Crossing Drive in Mannequin-Sabat. I'm a recently retired chemical engineer, having worked 20-plus years at Eli Lilly and Company. I was responsible for capital project administration for new facilities designed and built in various locations in the U.S. and in Europe. It is genuinely exciting to learn that Eli Lilly is coming to our county. But I'm here tonight to speak about the TOD overlay. I truly think our county leadership needs to pause and consider how best to build upon the Lilly news. In my experience, businesses required to support a Lilly manufacturing facility will germinate and take shape, providing county supports these new enterprises. As an example, please consider that Lilly's $5 billion investment will include over $500 million worth of equipment. The cost to maintain that equipment on an annual basis will cost roughly in the range between $20 to $30 million. That level of spending alone will require contract manpower, local mechanical and electrical shops, material suppliers, and multiple other vendors, all of whom would greatly benefit by setting up shop here in West Creek. My time to speak tonight is short, but my advice is simple. First and foremost, listen to your constituents. Our message here is clear. We don't want data centers. We don't want SMRs and power plants adjacent to our neighborhoods or yours. Focus your attention, please, on building upon the good fortune that you have recently achieved by bringing Lilly to this community. As a first step, take action tonight. Vote no on the TOD and technology zone overlay. Tailor future zoning modifications using conditional use permits to land as you need specific investors who have shown a real interest in locating in Goochland County. Stop chasing, please, your ill-advised data center dreams. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight.
Thank you. Yes, sir, in the black.
Hi, my name is Anastasia Gamova, and I reside on Elnora Lane in Henrico County, and I would like to cede my time to David Dalton.
Thank you.
My name is Britta Quick of Ivy Bend, and I'd like to cede my time to David Dalton.
Thank you.
So I'm David Dalton. I recently purchased land at 23...
Your address, Mr. Dalton?
That's what I'm actually saying right now.
Okay.
Purchased land at 2321 Sandy Hook Road and intend to make Goochland my family's home. I earned my living as a government contractor and commercial consultant. Over the past few decades, I've worked with the Department of Defense, the White House, the Department of State, the Department of Energy, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, FERC, APTM, Dominion Energy, and other government agencies. I have direct experience with non-commercial, government-owned small nuclear reactors and the disposal of nuclear waste. Regarding SMRs, I was part of a small 5-man team tasked in the early 2010s by the DoD, DOE, FEMA, and the Department of State to develop a concept for the deployment of vessel-based SMRs to address large area power outages following natural disasters both in CONUS and globally. That project was ultimately scrapped specifically because of safety and security concerns. I am an advocate for nuclear energy, but not commercial SMRs. The technology is not developed enough at this point, and the same safety and security concerns that killed the project I worked on still exist today. With regards to safety, there is no one single proven design or commercial example that has been successfully completed and brought online to date. The novel designs that are currently being pursued utilize new technologies like molten salt, gas cooling, fast reactors, and the list goes on. They are new designs, not proven designs. The lack of exhaustive testing and proven commercial use in the field only increases the risk profile of SMRs. You see, unlike high output reactors, SMRs are developed with a mindset of minimizing everything, including the staff that would monitor and control the reactor. Fewer staff reduces the ability to respond quickly to emergencies. Emergencies will happen. Equipment fails. Operator error is real, and conceptual procedures can be wrong when they meet the brutal reality of in-the-field operation. For example, electrical control systems can fail, cooling systems can fail, automatic reactor shutdown systems can fail, pipes will leak, valves will fail, and people will make mistakes. Proof of that reality, thankfully not in the cost of human lives, has been written into history at places like 3 Mile Island, Browns Ferry, Pilgrim, Peach Bottom, 9 Mile Point, Calvert Cliff, Millstone, Crystal River, and Oak Harbor. And those are just the places in the United States. Regarding waste, SMRs primarily use low-enriched uranium-235 as their fuel in the fission reactor. They still produce the same level of nuclear waste per kilogram as conventional high-output reactors, but some of the more complex designs produce more unstable waste. They still produce waste cooling water and other radiated material waste. To get rid of that nuclear waste, which is to say any waste with a significant radiation profile, it must be transported over rail or roads to secure disposal sites in the southwestern United States. Those routes and protocols are approved by the NRC. I know because I've worked on projects to move nuclear waste, and I've participated in developing routes. By establishing SMRs at various sites across the state, it will create decentralized points of nuclear waste production, which means that nuclear waste would have to be transported over the roads in order to reach the railway access points. Regarding security, some SMR designs intend to use highly enriched uranium or in some instances reprocessed fuel, both of which would be national security concerns, as both can be used for the proliferation of nuclear weapons and the production of dirty bombs. So the security questions are, how hardened will the SMR facilities be? Will their physical security measures match those of the high output reactors? Will there be armed security in coordination with DOE Special Operations? Will there be NRC force-on-force exercises to address terrorism concerns? To be clear, all that's needed for a partial or full core meltdown is sufficient damage to the safety systems that regulate the reactor. That can be accomplished through cyber attack or simple basic kinetic action by personnel. Regarding regulation, at present there is regulatory uncertainty around SMRs because the DOE and NRC regulations were tailored specifically for high output reactors at large facilities with ample security, large staffs, and redundant safety measures. Applying those regulations or scaling them to fit an SMR model has proven difficult and has not been concluded. In fact, some leading SMR companies believe that there should be fewer regulations on SMRs in order to accelerate growth in the industry. I don't have a problem with less government or fewer regulations on certain industries, But when it comes to nuclear energy, that's one area where more regulation is actually better. Chernobyl, 3 Mile Island, and Fukushima are proof of that. Now, without getting into the economic and development issues associated with SMRs, the reality remains that conventional high-output reactors are better, they're safer, and they're more secure. If the proposed data centers want to use nuclear energy to meet their electrical needs, I highly recommend not pushing a high-risk experimental shortcut to cash in quick on the data center gold rush. Instead, execute a power purchase agreement with Dominion and get on the 5 to 7 year wait list with all the other data centers that are being developed in Virginia right now. In the end, they'll probably get their power a lot faster anyway because the SMRs are not getting completed in 5 to 7 years. Again, I am an advocate of nuclear power as the only reasonable solution to the long-term energy needs of the United States and, in fact, the world. But I do not believe that SMRs in their current state of development are the magic pill that some believe them to be. It's for that reason that I strongly recommend that Goochland County not be the test bed for such experimental technology. Our families, yours included, should not be the guinea pigs of progress. Thank you, and may God bless you all.
Thank you. Next, please. Ma'am in the black, in the glasses. Yes.
It's blue, but that's fine.
Thank you.
Ready?
No, this young lady, please.
There's seating time.
I'm seating
okay,
time.
I got you. Okay.
Hi, I am Reverend Gail Minnick, and on Tuesday I will close on my new home at 9174 Bellini Crescent, and I'd like to cede my time to Reverend Sykes.
Thank you.
I'm Shawnee Phillips. I live at 12479 North Crossing Drive in Manikin-Sabot, and I'm happy to cede my time to Reverend Lisa Sykes.
Thank you.
Joy Bagley, 12322 Beach Hall Circle. I'd like to cede my time to Reverend Lisa Sykes.
Thank you.
And I'm Vladimir Leonov, 12167 Readers Point Drive, Manikin-Sabot.
Thank you,
I
sir.
donate my time to.
All right.
You'll have to forgive me. I am an old-fashioned preacher, and so I always have a script with me. I thank those who have given me time today. I also thank the Planning Commission for having me before them today to speak. I also thank Dr. Raley and all those people who are here from the Goochland County staff, especially for this podium, that will help me today to speak. You'll notice I have a trimmer, and so that was an accommodation they made for me, and I very much appreciate it. Thank you. My name is Reverend Lisa Sykes. I live at 12482 North Crossing Drive, and it's an honor to be here tonight. The interesting thing about a black hole, you can't see it. The way you know that a black hole is there is that you watch for the immense gravitational pull it has on everything around it. Because of this pull, you can identify the black hole even though it's cloaked in darkness. Most unexpectedly, a black hole has evidenced itself in Goochland. Our black hole is a data center, cloaked perhaps in a completed but unsigned contract that awaits the passage of this TOD, or perhaps it's enveloped in a non-disclosure agreement already signed and completed. Or perhaps it's just out there waiting in the wings. Here is the first telltale sign of the pull that a data center can exert. Our black hole is excluding citizens from closed-door negotiations. We know that the Deputy County Administrator has signed NDAs, and even though we FOIA'd them, they were too redacted to tell us anything at all. Our black hole swallows governmental transparency completely because the pull The financial pull of a potential data center is so immense, it's irresistible. Is this why it's been so frustrating over and over again for us residents to make reasonable requests for lower decibels, lower heights, 1,000-foot buffers, and the end of by right, only to encounter intransigence in return? Has the unseen data center already dictated its terms? I'd like to know the answer to that. Is it a hyperscale facility requiring 12 stories? You represent us, not the data center industry. Yet the pull is so immense that the county has proposed an experimental nuclear reactor on the border with Short Pump. The gentleman was just speaking about that. On top of a fault line by a quarry that has regular explosions. But what most people don't know, this ill-conceived endeavor will guarantee all Dominion customers in Goochland, whichever district that you are in, receive electric bills over $300 a month by the year 2035, even if that reactor never turns on and never works. Don't buy me something I don't want, I don't like, I don't trust, and then make me pay for it. In addition to SMRs, the county government has proposed amending TOD to allow gas peaker plants, which will spew organic carcinogens into the air of districts 4 and 5, and 1, and 2, and 3, and Henrico, without impact studies. Particulates from gas plants, as well as hundreds, perhaps thousands of diesel generators atop data centers, will contribute to asthma, acid rain, and early mortality in our population. Goochland, once you open Pandora's data center box, there is no closing it. Once you open Pandora's data center box, there is no closing it. We say Goochland loves rural character, but why then are we willing to pollute the Chesapeake Bay watershed in which we live? Like I say, you can tell there's a data center when the otherwise predictable, dependable patterns of behavior of those around you change because of its financial and immense pull. In his town hall, Supervisor Lyle shared that Goochland County will newly receive $1.5 million in annual tax revenue from Amazon and another $93 million from Eli Lilly over the next 20 years. Goochland is blessed. It's not poor. It's blessed by new income streams that afford us the opportunity to study this metaphorical black hole and to make darn sure that what we are getting into with a data center is what we want. Once we're in, there's no getting out. Personally, and I'd like to think I speak for many of those who are here tonight, I'd like to see Goochland be the data center-free county of the state. Because we have the wealth and the wisdom to select residentially compatible green industries like Eli Lilly, John, like Eli Lilly. Now that's the fulfillment of the 2035 comprehensive plan. Instead of more such successes, we are frightening close to an event horizon for data centers. Scared senior citizens, and I'm a pastor and this bothers me, are lying awake at night with worry. As one speaker eloquently testified of herself at Supervisor Lyle's town hall. And other residents, many of them senior citizens, in and around the TOD are in such a panic, listen to me, that they are selling beautiful homes, the homes they built for their precious retirement. Is this what Goochland wants to be known for? Are we a buyer beware county? Our citizens are scared of being swallowed up whole by a not far off data center. And yet the county is in such a rush that it hasn't even commissioned an independent study to look at the possible health and environmental outcomes, all because of something we cannot see, but whose immense financial pull we feel. A group called Community and Environmental Defense Services recommends, and I quote, "A data center proposal should only be considered after a thorough analysis of each potential impact. It has been made available to decision makers," that's all of you, "as well as area residents," that's all of us. It is more likely that the assessment will be accurate and unbiased if it is conducted by an independent party hired by the decision-making body using funds provided by the applicant developer. The analysis should prove that the data center will not have any adverse impacts such as noise beyond the data center property line, end quote. Finally, let me talk seriously about the pull of a data center on this process tonight and the process that's been going on in our county. As one Virginia legislator has observed, and I hold him in high esteem, and he is here tonight, Goochland County is acting like the developer of the TOD, and yet it is to the governmental body tasked with approving the TOD. The acres are thousands, but the approval process since the latest changes amounts to mere weeks. Really? Really? Doesn't an irreversible decision deserve more than a rushed consideration caused by a data center's pull? Is there a conflict of interest here? Stakeholders are currently investigating this. Before you come any closer to the black hole of a data center, I respectfully, and I know I get emotional because I'm a preacher, but respectfully ask you, members of the Planning Commission, to consider what pull the potential data center has and is exerting on each one of you. We, your constituents, seek your wisdom, your help, your impartiality, your expertise in the momentous consideration of the TOD. Reader's Branch has submitted to each one of you their papers and modifications we feel are very necessary for the TOD. We hope you will consider them. If you don't have all the information you need, please take time to get it. If you haven't been pulled in by the black hole yet, then you will understand the need for an independent study on the detrimental impacts the data center will have on the rural character and life of the whole of Goochland.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Next, please.
Note to self, don't follow a reverend. Mr. Chairman, my name's David Owen. I live at 830 Wood Cove Court, Manikin-Sabot, Virginia. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, thanks for allowing us all to speak. There was, 5 hours of testimony last Thursday night and a couple hours again tonight. I've been involved in zonings and modifications to zoning cases over the years. And I think where we are right now, I'm not here with any details or any more new information. There's been a great deal of information already. And when I look at the process, first I want to commend the staff and your commission and all the residents that have spoken. It has all been civil. There's been disagreement, but it's all been civil. And today, I want to point out that one of my fellow members of the House of Delegates received a death threat today. And fortunately, the Dinwiddie Sheriff's Department has already arrested the individual. So thank you to the citizens and everybody involved in this process for being civil and not getting out of hand. But I think where we are right now, and what I would ask this commission and our Board of Supervisors, is you've given everybody the opportunity to speak. You've heard a lot of input. And it's time to step back and work through that input. Let the county staff meet with a group of constituents and work through the process. If this was a zoning modification, we would have had stakeholders involved much earlier and gone through a different process. And that's really what this is, a zoning modification. It's impacting a great number of people, and unfortunately, previous boards and previous decisions were made that put M1 and R1 next to each other, which that's created some of the angst that we have right now, and we've got to undo that. And we've got to find a way to move forward in Goochland County so we can preserve the happiness and the quality of life we have in Goochland County, as well as advance our economic development. Those two have to go hand in hand. And I think where we are right now, we don't have that solution, and I think to rush this is a huge problem. I would ask that the commission defer this until staff and community people can get together and work out the issues. We've had a lot of input, and just to vote and move to the next process and not take all that input into account, I think would be a mistake. Again, thank you for the process. Thank you for the time to speak tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, please.
Thank you to the last two speakers. Great recaps. My name is Paul Costello, and I live at 2011 Sycamore Creek Drive, Mannequin Sabbath. Good evening. First, thank you to the county staff and for your outreach efforts. Your work has helped keep residents informed and engaged throughout this process. I want to be clear. I support responsible economic growth, but the proposed TOD ordinance is deeply flawed. For example, the inclusion of 900 acres zoned A2 near the Richmond Country Club into a TOD district, along with what amounts to be a de facto rezoning to M1 and TOD by right uses, is a serious concern. This bypasses the formal rezoning process and sets a troubling precedent. No other properties have received such sweeping changes without public input. This undermines transparency and long-established land use procedures. Also troubling is the dynamic where the Board of Supervisors is both the TOD applicant and effectively the TOD developer, while staff preparing this ultimately reports to that same board. This raises legitimate concerns about impartiality and highlights the need for strong public oversight. Hundreds of residents have spoken with one clear voice. We're not opposed to growth, but we're asking for a smarter, more balanced approach. So here's what we're asking. Restore public hearings and board oversight for large-scale development and rezonings. Follow the lead of other Virginia localities that have wisely tightened regulations on data centers. Require conditional use permits for any TOD project over 80 feet tall or involving energy generation. Strengthen standards for safety, noise, buffers, and environmental protection, and require full impact studies before approvals. There also seems to be some confusion about whether the TOD is being fast-tracked because of commitments made to Eli Lilly. While this project is exciting, it can proceed under current zoning. Specific needs like height exceptions can be granted without opening the door to by right 12-story development across 4,400 acres along a 5-mile stretch of eastern Goochland. I am deeply concerned that if enacted as currently written, this ordinance will put the health, safety, welfare, and property rights of Goochland residents at serious risks. In short, the TOD needs fixing, not fast-tracking. Let's avoid the backlash and potential legal consequences the TOD ordinance could bring. I respectfully urge the Planning Commission to defer action and work with the community on a more thoughtful, balanced, and publicly supported plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Linda McDuffie. I live at 7208 Shenfield Avenue, Goochland County. I'm going to give my time to Mike.
Thank you.
There you go. Good evening. My name is Mike McDuffie. I live at 7208 Shenfield Avenue in Parkside Village. To begin, a large number of fellow citizens have already given ample concerns regarding the SMR, data centers, and components of the TOD. So I'm going to take a different path and not cover in full detail what already has been. On a personal note, I enrolled in the Citizens Academy held this year and is conducted by our Goochland County Sheriff's Office. If you've never enrolled in it, I would highly recommend it. I met many deputies and the sheriff. The one thing they all made clear to me is they love their jobs and they are committed to delivering on the essence of their credo to protect and serve with integrity, professionalism, and compassion for their citizens, their friends, and their family. What a legacy to live up to. Your hard work has already made a tremendous contribution for the citizens of this county by landing Eli Lilly. That one single act should serve not only as a resounding victory for us all, but you now have a blueprint you can replicate. This is a good thing. A lot of good things will follow Lilly. History bears that out. But you are ignoring that blueprint, I would submit, and now moving down a treacherous path. First off, to consider having an SMR, a nuclear reactor, located very proximal to your citizens, your friends, is completely devoid of any concern for those impacted the most. You're exposing many of your constituents to unknown peril, not to mention exposing this county and surrounding counties to a potential horrible outcome they could be burdened with for decades. No one wants to be remembered as the next 3 Mile Island. SMRs aren't proven technology, and none exist in the U.S. There's one in Russia and there's one in China, and I'm sure that we can count on them to show concern for their citizens in modeling where those reactors are placed. I would imagine we would all be suspect of any shared data, studies, and unforeseen consequential outcomes they have already experienced. We can in no way expect them to be honestly transparent. So how are you willing to let Goochland County and its citizens be guinea pigs? Please show more respect, the same as if your family was in close proximity to ground zero. A citizen spoke last week about us having an unreasonable fear of nuclear power, but there are too many examples around the world that fed that fear, and rightly so. That fear has prompted better planning and a more cautious approach for projects under consideration. But that thinking seems to have been abandoned on this project. Insofar as data centers, no forward-thinking planning commission would even think of allowing those at all unless they are placed in the most remote areas of the county. There is ample data that shows that their noise pollution has a decibel range of 60 to 100, the latter of which approaches the range of some small jet engines. Not to mention the more damaging effect of the long-ranging low-frequency waves that travel over a mile and having an impact on humans where all outcomes on health are both known and unknown. A 300 to 600-foot setback does little to help with the noise, and the noise buffering technology data centers currently use really offers little help. A buffer of a mile is more realistic. Lastly, data centers of 1 million square feet employ 25 to 50 people. Not much of an employment benefit compared to the suffering inflicted on your constituents and friends. I don't know how many of you have visited a data center, but I have, and I can tell you firsthand that each of you on this stage, if you had visited one, you'd have a much more critical eye cast on those. Their alluring revenue tax stream comes with a high cost to your constituents. So please tread carefully in how you let their glowing proposals cloud your critical thinking and lead to bad decisions. In closing, I would strongly implore you to tread carefully as you choose how to move forward with your constituents, your citizens, and your friends. Please, do not rush to bring in and allow to evolve things that have not been vetted to the utmost degree of all possible cause and effect scenarios. Some tax revenue streams put your citizens and friends at extreme risk, so why do that? I didn't mention the distribution centers, but they contribute a nice tax stream and large employment gain for the county. They also bring a darker side of increased drug and prostitute trafficking in their employee parking lots, and that requires more monitoring from law enforcement. But as they say, that horse has left the barn. However, it is not too late for you to retrench, vet more thoroughly all potential outcomes of your actions before making a move that forces the citizens and constituents to resort to class action, and that seems highly likely. Lastly, your actions leave a legacy that follows you, so I urge you to model your actions based on the credo of the Goochland County Sheriff's Office to protect and serve with integrity, professionalism, and compassion for the best interests of your citizens, friends, and families of this great county, and I would urge you to defer this action. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, please. Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Dwight Gordon. I live at 521 Hickory Drive in Mannequin-Sabot. We've been there for 6 years. On a personal note, I grew up in the Harrisburg area and was very close to 3 Mile Island and came within a hair's breadth of having to leave my home and never go back. And I do not want to go through That again, I do not want the residents of this county to have the kind of stress that an unproven technology is going to bring into the area if we allow nuclear power. I also want the commissioners to consider the possibility in this high-tech age, as we look at all of the hackers and people that bring ill and get into systems that aren't supposed to be there. What is the possibility on these remote reactors that are going to be managed by all this technology, that someone simply goes in there, takes over, and says, great, I've got your reactor now, pay me X dollars, or bad things are going to happen. There's just so much that we don't know. I did want to congratulate the county on landing the Lilly contract. I think this proves that the type of project that we want, the types of projects that we want to have in West Creek. And given how intensely competitive this contract process was, it shows that we can be successful in bringing major investments to the county. And those are the kinds of developments I think that we all support and will bring the revenue and bring more citizens and more development of the right kind here. I don't want to go back over all the points that have been made before, but I did note one thing that has not been raised in the other comments. I urge you to study, as was said, some of the other developments that more rural communities have taken on with respect to data centers. One thing I learned was that the tax revenue you earn from a data center is dependent on the data stored therein. And so when you do your cost-benefit analysis and the developers come to you and say, well, you're going to earn X revenue, you may be surprised that the actual revenue you earn is literally 1/8 to 1/10 of that which was planned. We don't need data centers in Goochland County, period.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me? Sorry for my voice. My name is Heather Renwick. I reside at 5737 Lake West Terrace in Glen Allen. I work at Capital One on the West Creek campus. Goochland County is approximately 298 square miles. I know this because I looked it up. And yet this SMR that you are proposing would be located less than 2,000 feet from the Henrico County line. Unfortunately, this does not seem to be an error, and there are terms for this. And those terms are things like environmental injustice, political gamesmanship, and worst of all, a sacrifice zone, creating a sacrifice zone in a neighboring county populated by people who you do not represent in order to enrich the coffers of Goochland County. The residents of Henrico County are being denied any say in this matter that will have a profound impact on our lives, our health, our safety, and our quality of life. This proposal is rife with waivers for building height, noise, and design, and it even poses a significant financial risk to local taxpayers, which could be left with a $99 million debt if developers pull out. I want you now to know, and I want to thank you for allowing me to speak, that you may think of this as a county issue, but it is not. It will be a state issue and perhaps a national issue. The residents of Henrico County deserve to have their voices heard. I want you to know that both of our senators are aware of this issue, and I have asked them to get involved. And the Southern Environmental Law Center is aware of this issue, and I've asked them to get involved. And whatever decision you make going forward with this proposal, I want you to know that it is bigger than Goochland County, and we will have our say in this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
My name is Carla DeMeo Ruiz, and I live at 12564 North Readers Lane in Mannequin. I'm very grateful for the people in the last 3 meetings I've attended who have spoken up. I'm impressed with the credentials and the expertise that's been expressed, and people are very articulate. I have a few personal comments to make. I'm not an expert in nuclear energy or any of the other things. My husband and I moved to Virginia, to Henrico County in 1995, and we've loved living here. We've enjoyed the state, and we enjoyed Henrico County. I've worked in Goochland County at a company headquartered there since 2004, and I've enjoyed the environment, the beauty of Goochland County. And so 2 years ago, my husband and I decided to build kind of our dream house in Goochland because it was quiet, it was more kind of a country environment, and we were thrilled to be moving here. We knew West Creek and we knew what existed there, but we had no idea what was being considered. And so needless to say, we're rather disturbed at some of the possibilities. Many of our neighbors in Reader's Branch, where we live, have moved from Northern Virginia to get away from precisely what you're asking us to accept in West Creek. And so everybody else has mentioned specific concerns. I'm just talking as a person and with a heart that moved here for what I thought were very good reasons. And now I'm a little concerned that we've made an error in moving to Goochland County. I think we have the same goal as you do. We want Goochland to be attractive. We want to keep it an attractive place to live and work, raise families, and have a positive impact on the state. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yes, sir, in the blue.
Good afternoon. My name is Kevin Leonard. I'm from 2150 Whistle Lane in Goochland County. In my current occupation, my responsibility is to write a comprehensive emergency management plan. That plan, anytime it is modified, has to go through the entire approval process all the way up the chain of command to be approved, not amended, edited in any way whatsoever. So I do not believe, my personal opinion, that any comprehensive plan, whether it be for the county or for an emergency response, should be amended. It should be modified and approved at a later time as we proceed forward. As it pertains to the nuclear reactors, part of that emergency management plan is planning for the response to the potential for a nuclear reactor response. The evacuation zones and the processes there, the critical infrastructure that's required to allow for that evacuation. In the past, it was said that the county population doubled during the day, Monday through Friday, because of the staff at Capital One and CarMax. Assuming that that still holds true, or at least close to it, is the critical infrastructure like 288 appropriate for the evacuation of all those people that would be inside of that evacuation zone for these nuclear reactors you're talking about? I don't believe so. I've driven on 288 between 4 and 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the evening. I don't know if any of you all have. No one's evacuating anywhere anytime soon. On a personal note, my grandfather, my father, my mother, my brother, and I are all firefighters or were firefighters at some point. We will be the ones responding in. And as other people have said, this technology is not yet safe. It doesn't have those checks and balances to make sure that the people are doing what they need to be doing at these reactors. They don't have the staff to make sure that the reactors remain safe for these responders to come in. I'd hope that you consider all of those points when you vote no against this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? If so, just raise your hand, and then what I'll have you to do is to go over to the staff, and they'll check you in. No, ma'am, you need to come to the front, please. Your name and your address when you come down, please. Take your time. No, go to the microphone, please. We want to hear you. Come a
Okay.
little closer.
Oh, you're sure?
Yes.
Okay. So I've been to all 3 meetings, and we've heard a lot of information, but a lot of us have questions, and we've all talked one way to you. I was here the first meeting where we had a presentation, but the presentation was sweet, thank you, but it was mostly about building height, trees, and a few other things. But some of these critical questions about response times, about various and sundry things, and I would love to know what the expected tax revenue was. Finally, somebody brought that up. It's like, I know you all think we're going to get money from data centers, but I use AI all the time, and I've never paid a penny for the use of that. So I don't see the income. So my question to you guys is, we all have questions. How do you get those answered? I would love to have more experts either up there or whatever, and we ask you questions and have an immediate answer to those questions.
Thank you. Again, if there's someone else, go to the desk. If none, then we will close this public hearing. It's not over yet. It's not over yet. It's not over yet. We. That's our current county attorney. So the public hearing of this meeting is over. So now, is there a motion on the floor? And after the motion, if it's properly second, then we will have some discussion.
Well, the motion, I would make a motion to approve, and then we can discuss that. So I move to recommend approval of the Technology Overlay District and Comprehensive Plan amendment to the Board of Supervisors with the recommendation that the Board of Supervisors consider the following: make energy generation facilities allowable only through conditional use permit for both primary and accessory uses. In the areas of the Technology Overlay District, with current base zoning of A2, impose a 500-foot setback from residential property for data center permitted by right and require conditional use permitting approval for locating closer in those areas. Limit by right maximum building height to 80 feet for structures located adjacent to residentially zoned property. And reduce the decibel limits lower than the currently proposed 65 dB in the day and 60 dB at night.
I'll second.
So it's been properly moved and second. Is there any discussion among us?
All right, I still have concerns. I do like what I'm hearing as a change in this amendment, that SMRs are only permitted not by use but by conditional use permit. So that will bring any SMR that is being considered in the future, and I don't think they're going to be considered in the near term. So we'll have more information when they have to come before this board and the Board of Supervisors to consider. So I'm okay with that. I don't like that A2s are still being brought into this TOD and essentially being rezoned as in a backdoor way. We can discuss that, though. I'd like to hear your opinions on that. And I see that we're pushing back as a change here. If you want to put a data center in a property that's adjacent to a residential property, it's pushing them back from the 300 foot that was proposed before to 500 foot. But I would.
Smack that gavel.
Can we talk?
All right, so can we change, making the changes, further changes, what Mr. Kimberly was talking about?
Can you explain why you're coming to these decisions?
Right now, the commission has a motion and a second, and you are discussing it. Motions to amend the motion on the floor can be made. I didn't think that was where Mr. Kimberly was at this point, but that can occur.
How will we do that now, though?
If Mr. Kimberly wishes to make a motion to amend the motion that's on the floor, he can do so.
All right, and finally, like I started to say, I still would like, if we are going to have a technology overlay district with incentives for changing the by right requirements and liberties for these M1 properties, I would still like those that are adjacent to residential properties, not just to back up to 500, but I would like them to be excluded from having data centers. That's what I would like.
Mr. Kimberly, let me just check in on that with you. Did you say you wish that M1 could not have data centers?
Only those adjacent to residential districts. And I'm not amending my motion right now. I'm asking for discussion and any kind of other opinions from the other members of the board.
I appreciate that. Let me just give you one note of process, and that is what is before you tonight are advertised sections of the code with proposed changes. You would not be able tonight to act to amend M1 uses. That's not a part of what's been advertised for this public hearing. However, the way you've made your motion right now has to do with recommendations of things the board would consider. And you certainly could amend a motion, should you choose to in the future tonight, about a recommendation. I just want to make you aware that there is a limit of what could be done based on the advertising.
Right.
Any other discussion?
I would also be in favor of the first part of your amendment for the energy generating facilities, limiting the height next to residentially zoned properties to 80 feet and reducing the decibel limits. Mr. Kimberly, are you putting specific limits on that decibel, or are we keeping that up for discussion?
Well, since the results of this commission are advisory to the Board of Supervisors, all we are saying in this motion is that we advise the Board of Supervisors to consider lowering the noise limits, the sound limits.
I think also as we look at this motion, we realize that between now and when the board receives this in November, that further study and further activities will take place before they take a vote, which is, of course, the final vote on this process. I do agree with the fact that we do need to put the energy generating facility or facilities in the CUP. That does give you, the public, the opportunity whenever there's a CUP to do exactly what we did tonight, where you would what we've been doing this process, you would hear a presentation from the staff, you would hear a presentation from that company or that organization, then you would have the opportunity to speak to that process in terms of asking staff questions, as well as, of course, asking questions of that particular company or organization. So that puts you, the public, back in the process in terms of being able to be part of the process and not being excluded from that process. So I do definitely agree with that. And yes, more setbacks are always better. And of course, if the staff does receive any type of proposal from a company or organization, they have a very long laundry list of checks and balances that they go through per the comprehensive plan, per the zoning ordinance, that they look at in terms of the design, the development, the conceptual plan, things like that. And they can also impose even further restrictions to that company or organization as well. So I think that, again, that would definitely help. And I think that in terms of reducing the noise level, I know one of the things that has come out or we could look at is the fact that, again, as a company or organization comes to the county, we can also look at, in terms of their building, through the design process of how well they will insulate that building, as well as any equipment or machinery that's within that building as well. Jess?
Yeah. Yeah, we're talking amongst ourselves. We have done our best to listen to everyone and address the concerns that everyone has. It's a lot to consider. It's a really big project, I know. I'm excited that we are not moving forward with SMRs by right. We've heard that loud and clear from lots of people, and I agree with y'all. Yeah. A lot to consider and a lot to deliberate. So.
Mr. Kimberly, just a point of clarification. Did your motion include not including any A2s, or was that just a thought outside of your motion?
That's not yet a part of a motion, process-wise.
Yeah,
it's
that
not
is
yet.
that is not what I was just starting our deliberation by saying I'm concerned about that, and that makes me right now resistant to approving my own motion. But we needed to make a motion so that we could have our internal deliberation here. The one thing that gives me a little bit of comfort if I were to vote to move forward with this is I don't really believe that Amazon or Meta, if they were going to put a data center in Goochland County, I think they would avoid the properties right next to residential areas, because they would be thinking that is a public relations nightmare, because as you hear right now, the public would be a black eye on them. But that's the only thing that would make me think that it's okay to allow data centers to be considered to be put next to residential properties. I think, though, that the companies would find that to be undesirable, and they would pick a different property in the West Creek area.
This has been a difficult time for all of us, and we've all spent a lot of time doing this. I don't think we're rushing it. We've been doing this since what, June? We've had, yeah, really. I hear you. We voted for it. I don't have to explain myself to you.
And again, whatever takes place tonight, it is just a recommendation from us as the Planning Commission. The final vote in terms of thought process, and again, after tonight, there's still going to be a lot of things that the staff will be working on. There's a lot of stuff that the staff has already been working on. So this is not something that's just been sitting on the shelf. The staff has been very diligent in working on and talking to a lot of people, and yes, they are experts. In that vein, by the time the board gets this, whether we approve it tonight or whether we don't approve it tonight, the board will still get it in their November meeting. And so the board has the final decision. We're just making a recommendation, or we're not making a recommendation. But either way, the board has the final decision, and at that point, they will have all of the information and even more information than we have, because again, like I said, there's ongoing things that are taking place as we speak. So with that being said, there's a motion on the floor. Are we amending that motion, or are we keeping it?
I was not recommending that we amend the motion as it currently stands. I can. Yeah, let me read it again. I move to recommend approval of the Technology Overlay District and the Comprehensive Plan Amendment to the Board of Supervisors, with the recommendations that the Board of Supervisors consider the following. Make energy generating facility allowable only through conditional use permit, both for primary and accessory uses. In the areas of the Technology Overlay District with current base zoning of A2, impose a 500-foot setback for residential property, from residential property for a data center permitted by right, and require conditional use permit approval for locating closer in those areas. Limit by right maximum building height to 80 feet for structures located adjacent to residentially zoned properties. And reduce the decibel limits lower than currently proposed, 65 dB in the day and 60 at night.
So that was the motion that was read and said a few moments ago. Before the discussion, it's already been properly seconded. So we will now have a vote. Madam Clerk, we need a roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. McLaughlin?
Aye.
Ms. Kowalski?
Nay.
Mr. Cosby?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Patek?
Aye.
Mr. Kimmerly?
Nay.
The motion to recommend approval passes on a 3-2 vote. This case is tentatively scheduled to be heard by the Board of Supervisors on November 6, 2025. It moves forward with a recommendation of approval from the Planning Commission.
If there's no further business, this meeting